More and more, we're finding that being outside is incredibly helpful for kids. It helps with anxiety and feelings of loneliness. But there's something else that being outside does for children. Looking into the distance, seeing the horizon, does something powerful for them. But how do we get kids to drink this in, to take the outside into their minds and into their hearts? That can be a dark place for some parents. But today in the Celebrate Kids podcast, in this daily segment, Facing the Dark, we're going to turn to Dr. Kathy for some insight and encouragement to help our kids build muscles that really are going to do and suit them well later on in life. Before we do that, I want to remind you that this episode today is brought to you by Summit Ministries. Summit Ministries is a dynamic 2-week camp where teens that are in high school or college really get a chance to dive deep into a Christian worldview. They get taught, like we're going to talk about today, to look to the horizon, to consider the birds of the air, and to consider where God is working in distant places, and understand also logic and the rhetoric of God's communication to all of mankind. For more on Summit Ministries, go to summitministries.org/celebrate kids. That's summitministries.org/celebrate kids. Now, let's turn to Dr. Kathy Cook.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Not every light is gonna guide you.
So, Dr. Kathy, a recent report by NPR notes that if you're a parent struggling to get your kids off devices and outdoors to play, there's probably another reason to keep trying. And they say that spending at least 2 hours outside each day is one of the most important things your kids can do to protect their eyesight. Dr. Nahoya Ekwadi says, quote, "We think that outdoor time is the best form of prevention for nearsightedness." Dr. Kathy, we've talked about this a lot here, that nearsightedness is really a challenge for many kids. And I'd like to get your perspective on this. Why do you think it's important for kids to be outside in the summer months? Is it just because it's a benefit to their eyesight? Or what are your thoughts here?
There are more reasons, but let me go on record to say that if people are only nearsighted, so they cannot see far, if they're underdiagnosed, I don't want them on the highway when I'm on the highway. I mean, this is no joke. Part of my concern about this report is that if we do not continue to do a good job of checking children's eyesight, then we might not discover this. Now, in a lot of our schools, there's regular checks. Homeschool, maybe not so much. So let's make sure that we're getting our kids to the eye doctor, just like we take them to the dentist, to make sure that all is well. Because, again, I don't want them driving on the same road I'm on if they haven't been diagnosed as having a problem with being farsighted. So there's so many reasons to get outside. Vitamin D from the sunshine certainly is one of them. And, physical fitness, right? They're, climbing trees and running and skipping and playing, freeze tag. They learn to cooperate. They learn to take turns. They learn to throw a ball. I mean, there's basic stuff that happens there. I don't know about you, but when I look back on my childhood, some of my favorite memories are the front yard and the backyard play with my brother and with the neighbors. I grew up on a street with lots and lots of little kids, and, freeze tag and all kinds of things that, Red Rover, let Sally come over. I mean, we did that on the street. And then we moved it. There was a car coming. So no one got hit by a car. We were paying attention. So there's fun and there's joy and there's fitness and there's camaraderie and there's teamwork and there's, body smart development when we figure out that we can run up the stairs. Well, Daddy said don't, but we can.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Dr. Kathy. I think there is a lot of reasons and benefits to it. Some kids are naturally inclined to being outside, but others really aren't big fans. It can be kind of a myriad of things and run a wide array of reasons and excuses is what I kind of experience as a dad. Things like I'm uncomfortable or I don't like being hot or there's just so many things that kind of drive some kids to really not wanting to be outside. Is it important for us to acknowledge and answer those reasons? Maybe when a kid has some reason for not doing the thing that we'd like them to do, which is be outside and develop different muscles and habits and experiences. Should we listen longer in those situations? Or is it more beneficial to say, you know what, that's a great list that you have going there, hon, and you should take it outside and think about it.
Yeah, that's a great response. I think we listen. I think our kids need to know that we have heard them and that we're not being, blanketly dismissive of their concerns. And certainly if the concerns are legit, like if there's a bully who lives next door and you know that your daughter is targeted by him, she doesn't have to go outside and play when he's home and also outside. This is where you pay attention and you listen to the specifics. So I think this would be an idea that you say to your child, can you share specifics with me? And again, I don't want to be hot, go outside. I don't want to get dirty, go outside. It's fascinating when I ask kids about being nature smart. So many kids like getting dirty, which just cracks me up. I swear they like the feel of the dirt. They don't mind the sand in their shoes. Other kids, of course, mind it. If they're sensory, they're going to mind that. So we honor who they are at the same time that we know what is best. We're the moms and the dads and the teachers and the neighbors, and we've lived longer. And this is where you stand up and you say yes to the yes things and no to the no things. And you say to your son and daughter, I have heard you. And yet you are going to go outside. I'll set the timer for 20 minutes. Just like you would never let them color all day. You would never let them eat every Oreo cookie. You would never let them be on screens all day. I hope you don't have to make them be outside all day, but they need that opportunity to discover that they actually might like it.
Yeah, I love that, Dr. Kathy, because I think that there's some kids of mine, especially, that I look at and say they naturally like being outside. And they oftentimes will pull their siblings that are, I would say kind of different smart than they are into those settings. We often talk about that with the 8th grade smarts, that it's easy to identify, our kids as we get to know them. The one kid that I have is picture smart. Another is really logic smart. I have some word smart kids who just come up with quick comebacks and think about the world and words, and they can paint pictures that are really fun. So they have like these two kind of dovetailing. And then I find myself using the excuse that my kids might not be in that smart, right? So my logic smart kid might have a hard time picturing things. And it's easy for me to say, well, you're just not picture smart. And then it kind of becomes an identity. But I've noticed that you don't really talk about the smarts that way, maybe as kind of a definition, but a little bit more as, I don't know if it's, you'd say like a proclivity, like a natural kind of inclination to see the world in a way, but you talk about awakening or building muscles for the smarts. How should we, engage that framework of the smarts with our kids, especially when we're considering that some really don't care to be outside in nature? How should we approach that? Should we call them, picture smart or logic smart, and so that's why you don't like nature? Or how should we awaken some of these things in our kids?
Yeah, it's a good discussion. All children have the capacity to develop all 8 smarts. So I'm not opposed to you calling one of your children, picture smart, because it's clear that that's a gifting that she has. But it doesn't mean that she doesn't have the other 7. And what I think is so significant in our younger years is to awaken all 8. I often say to parents, if you never give a child piano lessons, you won't discover whether or not that child was actually gifted as a musician. If you never let kids, get outside and play in the dirt, you might not know that you have a natural scientist who figures out, how much water it takes in the dirt to make mud, versus wet dirt. I mean, seriously, logic smart kids being outside are going to explore differently than a picture smart kid would. A picture smart kid outside is going to stare up at the clouds and say, that one looks like an elephant. And over there's a mouse. And the logic smart kids are going to be like, you're nuts. Those are clouds. And the logic smart kid is going to figure out, how far can I jump to get over that hole and not get hurt? That's logic and body together. So I think being outside is an opportunity for all 8 to arise and for kids to discover more about themselves and for us to watch our kids explore. And then they might not know the label, right? But they come in and we go, hey, I was watching you and you were being so logic smart when you were exploring that plant, like you were a nature smart, logic smart scientist. I loved watching you explore the petals. What, Daddy? Yeah, you're a logic smart, nature smart scientist.
Oh, I loved what Dr. Kathy talked about today. And it reminded me of a passage that comes out of Psalm 8. And I'm going to begin reading at verse 1. Lord, our Lord, oh, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory in the heavens. Through the praise of children and infants, you have established a stronghold against your enemies to silence the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. You made them rulers over the works of your hands, and you put everything under their feet, all the flocks and herds and the animals of the wild, the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea, all that swim in the paths of the sea. Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. I hope you're encouraged by that psalm today. Maybe it's something that you should read, take your kids outside and spend some time considering the things that they might write a psalm about. To consider the beauty of God is maybe some of the greatest gifts that we can give our kids during this moment. And it could be an incredibly bright light that helps cut through some of the dark times that they might be experiencing. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Celebrate Kids podcast, this daily episode, Facing the Dark. On behalf of Dr. Kathy Cook, my name is Wayne Stender, and I want to take a minute here just to remind you, this episode is brought to you by Summit Ministries. I've talked about them before. It's a 2-week worldview camp for high school and college-age kids. My kids are going to it this summer. It's dynamic and incredible. They grow in ways that, man, it just makes my heart sing. If you're looking for a camp for your kid this summer, consider Summit Ministries. To learn more, just go to summitministries.org/celebrate kids. Again, that's summitministries.org/celebrate kids. Thanks for listening to the Celebrate Kids podcast. We're looking forward to seeing you here again tomorrow.